For the hype is there, news in the game. Beauty tips and more to help tame your mane. If you wanna stand out from the crowd, tune in to Jess and respect the crown. Respect the crown. Respect the crown. Respect the crown. Respect the crown.
I'm Jessica De Vault Hale, and you are tuning in to another episode of Respect the Crown. Today, we got a topic that has been coming up quite a bit lately on social media, and it is colorism. As if we should be done with this by now, but for some reason, we're not. It's 2019, and we're still discussing skin bleaching, people who are having self-esteem issues with their complexion, and those who may be lighter, who may have some other things to say about it they shouldn't be saying, whatever it may be. We're here to discuss it today, get to the root of it, and joining me today, I'm so lucky to have Mrs. Erica Barbie Lee, celebrity makeup artist, and the dark skin specialist. She's here to give us her perspective on the topic. And of course, I am joined by the illustrious Aryee.
Hi, guys.
And, you know, I was watching Love and Hip Hop the other day.
Yes.
This is what sparked the whole thing, right? So one of the characters is this Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. One of the characters, Spice, was complaining about feeling like she was being, I guess, bullied because of her complexion. And she felt like she should bleach her skin to get further ahead in her career. I believe she's a singer. You can call her a singer. Yeah. So it's like she's a singer from the Caribbean, and she just feels like, okay, if I bleach my skin, I'm gonna get further ahead. And it's like mind-boggling to me at first, because it's like we're still what? And what? We're still doing this. It's like, but I guess in her culture, this is like pretty common thing. And it kind of got me wondering, like, you know, how big of an issue is this still here? Because I don't hear it discussed as much. But it doesn't mean that it's still not a problem. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so glad you're here today, Erica, because I wanted to get your perspective on it. Because I think sometimes we can assume from our place of, I guess you can say, privilege, I guess, that everything's copacetic, everything's cool. But clearly, from what we're seeing from the show, it's not. And oh, by the way, too, Lupita Nyong'o also had a book coming out that discusses the exact same topic. So clearly, this is still an issue. From your perspective, Erica, how do you feel about this topic? Do you feel like it's something that is worth discussing right now? Or do you feel like it's just maybe one character on the show who's kind of making a big deal? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Honestly, I feel because of Spice's culture that's mainly the reason that she's so headstrong about it, and she feels like it's okay. Like, from my perspective of watching the show, I mean, you can see that Mimi, you know, Rashida, everybody else, they were like, girl, what? Because it's not acceptable here. Like, here, it's definitely looked down upon. We're looking like, okay, girl, is that self-hate? Like, what's going on? But I would say, you know, I just visited Jamaica in February. And I ran into some issues on vacation, you know. So being there and actually being segregated on the beach, that, you know, when I watched Love and Hip Hop and I saw where she was coming from, I kind of understood why she thought it was okay. And I think that I definitely don't think it's okay, but I understand from her cultural standpoint why she thinks it's okay. Like, she thinks, you know, it's normal, because it is normal over there. Over here, it's not normal for us. I do feel that she's reaching a bit, you know. I mean, honestly, my first thoughts was, I mean, I feel like she's kind of stealing Marla Negra's
storyline.
Yeah, she's kind of stealing her storyline a bit, but you know, it is an issue that they do have over in Jamaica. And we do have some of those issues here. You know, I used to be a flight attendant for Delta, and I used to do a lot of the Lagos flights to Nigeria. It's an issue there as well. I mean, it was the issue to the point where our manager in the airport at MAC told us, don't argue with them about their actual shade, their actual foundation shade. Like, they would come in, you know, NW50 about my color. That's about NW50 is about my skin tone, you know, and I tell them, you know, this is your foundation color. They're like, oh, no. You know, they'd want, you know, NW43 or, you know, which is significantly lighter. It's about Hannah's color. She's about an NW43, somewhere in there. So it got so bad to where our manager just told us, like, you know, don't argue, just give it to them. So, you know, a lot of women would come in and you could tell they've been bleaching because, I mean, they're Their knuckles are gray. And, like you look at the hands, you can tell that they've been bleaching for the most part. So it's an issue all around the world.
That's like it's disheartening to hear that, because I guess to me, when I think of like some of the most beautiful Black women I can think of, they're all dark skinned. So it's just like and I used to live overseas very briefly during my teen years, and when I went to different countries, Black women were like it. It was like you were celebrated, and really the darker the better in some instances. And so to hear this story is just kind of like, still I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say I was oblivious to it, but I think I do agree with you when you were saying with Spice's story, she's kind of reaching just a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's kind of reaching.
Just a smidgen. But I get where she's coming from if she's hearing that she's not considered as pretty because of that, because of her complexion. But Hannah, have you, I guess, witnessed or seen anything like that before?
I'm trying to think. I would probably say music, maybe. I feel like there's this whole like light skin versus dark skin, like, oh, look at Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. And I guess I get it to a certain extent because they say like, oh, Cardi B career took off faster than Nicki Minaj because she's fairer skin than Nicki Minaj or whatever. And I was talking with my boyfriend about it the other day, and he was saying like, yeah, I agree. And I was like, I don't see it because like people tell me that I'm light skin, but I don't feel that I am. I feel like I'm like brown skin. I'm like, okay, why can't we all just be Black? Why do we have to be categorized into like, oh, you light skin, you go over here, you dark skin, you go over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, me being a mom, I feel like it is important to talk to our kids about it at a young age so they're aware of it. They're not blindsided when they're like 30 or, coming of age, being a grown woman, and you're like, okay, why are you treating me like this because of my skin?
I remember as a kid, like elementary school, hanging out with my friends, playing out in the playground, and when my friends coming out and saying who's lighter, and us all literally putting our wrist out like this, like it was straight out of like a 1950s movie, like seriously. And it's just like, and I remember getting clown. They used to call me white girl because it's like, oh, because you're the most yellowest person in the whole entire group, basically. And like, I always personally, I kind of always grew up with a complex with it, but not in I'm better because I'm yellow, but more like in something is wrong because I can't tan to save my life. Like I thought there was something more wrong with me because of the fact that I don't have the same complexion as all my good friends did. But I felt like as we got older, there was some, I don't want to say a beef or an animosity from them, as much as maybe they were told something about my complexion being better and they were annoyed by it or pissed by it. And that caused a lot of friction over the years. And I actually had a conversation with one of my friends maybe about 2 years back. Like we had like not spoken in years, obviously, because we were kids then, we're adults now. And she was telling me that she couldn't understand until she got older that she really thought that I thought I was better than her because I was light skinned. And it was like, we never gave you that impression. I thought we were all cool. She's like, well, you just acted like you think you cute. It's like, well, should we all think we cute? Like, I don't understand this. Like, what? I was so confused by it. But when we talked about it, it made sense. But she, from wherever environment she was coming from, whether it's from her family or whatever, there was something telling her that her complexion was not as good as her lighter skinned friends' complexion. And I don't know where they're getting it from, because I remember that there's a test that they had these kids take. I keep getting the name of it.
The egg test.
It's like they show a cartoon of 5 little kids and they're all different shades. And who's the bad kid's always the black, the darker skinned kid, and who's the good kid's always the white kid. And it's just like, well, where are they picking that up from? Like, I don't have any kids, but to me, I feel like this is something that starts so early. It's not just what's happening in the music industry or whatever. It's like, it's something that's ingrained from day one with these kids. Where are they getting it from, you think?
Raising. Home training. I'm country. That's just, I'm from the country, honey. And I mean, honestly, I was just blessed that, my parents they never made a difference between any of us. Because my middle sister, she's pretty, she's brown, light skin. She was lighter skin when she was younger than she is now. But, her being the lighter one, we kind of got from different people like, oh, well, your hair is fake and hers is real type thing. And both of us had, my hair was actually longer than hers. That was the real thing. But they'd always ask me, was my hair real? And, assume hers was. But our parents never, made any difference. They let us know that, like, no, you're dark skinned, you're beautiful. My parents definitely helped my self-esteem as a child. Because I remember being, like in the 4th grade, And the only thing that little kids could say and try to dig at me was, "Oh, you black. You black and mild. You this and this." And I said, "Oh, you bald head." Because my ponytail's always been long. You bald head. You know, that was my thing. My mom used to give me little comebacks to come and say, "Oh, you fat," whatever. You know. So that was, that was fourth grade thing. But honestly, I can honestly say, being a dark skinned female, I have not really experienced too many issues in my adult life with colorism that I'm aware of.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, there may be things that happened that I just was not aware of, but I haven't really struggled with that at all. And I thank my parents really for instilling so much confidence and building my self-esteem as a young child. Because my mom told me that she assumed that I would go through different things, being a darker skinned, little girl, that I would go through different things. So she made sure she let us know we're beautiful. She made us look in the mirror and say we're beautiful. So, child, I'm conceited, honey. You can't tell me nothing.
Right.
You can't tell me nothing. Period.
But so is that part of what when it comes to the makeup side of things? So what makes you want to be the dark skin specialist? That would kind of put you in that direction?
Well, part of me wanting to be a dark skin specialist is more so, I can remember a time where they didn't make makeup the code, like for me, for my color, like when I first started wearing makeup and doing makeup professionally at 15, like there was a lot of, different brands that didn't offer colors dark as me. You know what I'm saying? So I started working for a company that did custom blended foundation. So that's how I started doing that. So when I became a professional makeup artist, I said, well, I definitely want to gear towards darker skinned women because, they have us out here looking ashy. Don't realize that we have undertones too. We have, yellow undertones. We have, reds, orange. We have different undertones. You can't just slap this, this ashy dark makeup on us, so that's my thing. Like I try to give dark skinned women the same service, and because I'm dark skinned, it definitely is easier for me to do darker skinned women. Like I can do anyone, but to do dark skinned women, it's natural because it's me, so that's what made me want to be a dark skin specialist because I remember the struggle that I had at 15, 16, trying to wear fashion fair and it was greasy.
Oh, I remember fashion fair.
You remember fashion fair?
Cakey too.
Cakey.
They tried.
They tried, but it was so orangey. It was the only thing that would actually come close to actually fitting me at that time, So now we have a lot of different types of foundations that will fit everybody, but as you see, a lot of different brands have become more inclusive.
Yeah, but how long did that take? How much complaining did it take? I mean, it's like I still remember being in high school, trying to cover up acne and getting getting and I remember one time I thought I had matched my face perfectly, and then my vanilla friend was like, "Oh my god, I'm wearing that same shade." It's like, what? I was so confused. It's like I'm walking around with in a peachy kind of brown face,
yes.
Your neck being pale. For years, it's been an ongoing issue, and all of a sudden, I feel like now that diversity is kind of trendy right now. Everybody's into diversity now. All the brands are finally jumping on it. To have at least 40 shades is almost a requirement now.
Yeah,
to cover everybody.
And I mean, it took them so long to do that, So I honestly have been custom blending my foundations for years to actually create the right colors for women because it's still with the darker skinned women. There's not just one shade that's gonna fit us. Still, I still have to mix two to three different foundations to get the right undertone because we don't want to be too gray. We don't want to, So they're still perfecting the formulas and everything, but we still have a lot more options than we had, 16 years ago.
Well, at least you know how to do that because there's been a lot of complaints just in Hollywood with Black actresses having a lot of issues with their hair and their makeup and folk not knowing what to do with our faces. I mean, I've seen a couple of ashy looking chocolate folk on camera on quite a few occasions, and these are big productions too. So I mean, at least you have. I mean, of course, you would know how to mix, but everybody can't do that. And we've talked about everything from beauty and makeup when it comes to colorism, but as well as what our kids are growing up with. But I'm really curious to know what has been driving the division lately for adults. I don't mean just as kids. I mean, we know at this point that there is some sort of some kind of seed planted at some point in our youth. But as adults, we're all aware, we're all, mindful about equality, and then we're all sharing the Black experience. Why are we, as Black people now, still having this discussion? Why is this still a thing? It reminds me of a Spike Lee movie, School Days. Back in, I think this is 1985, something like that. basically based on the college experience at a Black college, Greek organizations pledging, that sort of thing. And in the movie, you have the lighter skinned girls who are part of one sorority and the darker skinned who are part of another. And behind the scenes of filming this project, he actually treated the lighter skinned girls better on purpose, put them in better hotel accommodations, gave them better food. Whereas then with the darker skinned girls, it was a completely different thing. They were like, I think 2 or 3 to a room, just really treated them considerably different, to the point where there was literally like this tension building on the set between the two groups because they were really feeling some kind of way towards each other. And at the end, there was this big fight in the movie. Turns out it was actually a real fight because just things just kind of just blew up basically. So I guess even though that was a Spike Lee manipulation, what's happening with us now where we're still feeling like there's a us and them when it comes to being in the Black culture? What do you think, Hannah?
I feel like it deals with a lot of Hollywood and what is perceived as like beauty, which is like white people or people that are like light skinned. So I feel like once you are conditioned to like seeing, Angelina Jolie, or you see what's another actress just light skinned. I think her name.
You mean vanilla? Because Angelina Jolie is vanilla.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I was just making sure we're on the same
Before
page.
she kind of went on hiatus, she was in like in every movie, and she became my favorite actress before a Black actress. Why? Because I seen her like in Hollywood movies, like back to back. So I'm saying like now we're just now celebrating like Black actresses, and I feel like because of that, we're still not used to seeing Black, in the movies and stuff. So I feel like it's still going to take us some time to really be like, okay, let's stop all this tension and just come together and celebrate each other.
That reminds me of, I remember someone had made a comment about Viola Davis, I believe, about her not being classically beautiful. Was it
right? Because
Viola?
Yeah. Viola Davis, and she became my favorite, actress too, over Angelina Jolie, because I'm like, okay, she has natural hair like me. Number one, she's beautiful too, and she's grown too. And not many, you don't see many actresses like that. That are not classified as beautiful, be as, successful as her.
Which was crazy. I think, like, for me, I know this is like blasphemy to say, but like, I remember all the hype with Halle Berry, like, oh, she's the most beautiful woman in the entire world.
I don't think she's all that.
I think she's pretty. I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but I don't think she's the most beautiful. Like, if you had to, like, right now, if you had to ask me who I think the most beautiful woman is right now, I'm sorry, Gabrielle Union, hands down. Like, seeing her in person recently, it was just like, you wanted to slap her. Like, she came in with this glow, and she's like, and it wasn't makeup. It was like this natural. I woke up literally just as beautiful today, and I've never seen anyone look like that in my entire life. Like, she is gorgeous, really smart. It's like, to me, it's like that is like what I would envision as beautiful. Halle's cute. I ain't knocking Halle, but it's like but I feel like because Halle was mulatto, as they would say, like one of the folks in production just said that, like, mulatto is like, I remember hearing that as a kid, like, oh, you just mulatto. I'm like, isn't that like a biracial person? Why am I being called? Like, I got two colored parents.
In high school, I used to say like all the dark skinned boys and like only the light skin. And I feel like the dark skinned boys, they will go after the light skin or the mixed girls because they're like considered exotic. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it starts then, and if you don't correct it then it, manifests into something bigger. Like, okay, I've been dating light skin and exotic women since high school. I'm not going to change it now. That's why I don't want to be with a darker skin Black girl, or So I feel like it's kind of hard to like change what you're accustomed to, and I feel like if we just have like open dialogue about it and not just like, oh, why you don't like Black women, or why you don't date Black women and stuff like that. So
wasn't that kind of like the whole concept of like what men like? Like, I grew up always feeling like men like light-skinned girls, long hair. You couldn't be like, there could be no short hair. When I went natural, that was a whole issue. Like, your hair needs to be long, down your back, got that nice wave going, that racially ambiguous look seemed to be really, really in. And it's, to me, it's almost unobtainable for any Black girl to naturally have that, because all Black girls don't look like, who's a good example of that? Someone who looks like they're, I guess at the time for me, it was like J-Lo, for example. I remember when she was having a heyday, when she was like dating Diddy or whatever, and guys love that. It's like, well, I can't be J-Lo, I'm not Latina. So like, I can't look like that. I can try to get the weave so I don't naturally look like that. But I mean, I feel like Black men specifically kind of have like this idea of what they think is considered really beautiful, you know. And I mean, and there's some guys I've talked to who've been very honest, like, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, just how I feel about it. But like, who is their mama telling them that? How you be a dark skinned man? Like, how you dark skinned? Your mama's dark skinned, but
I feel that a lot of us still have the slave mentality. Like, I mean, I just feel like, you know, that was something that was used against the slaves to separate us. You know, you got the field and you got the house. You know, they separated them based on that. And I feel like a lot of people, I go back to home training personally. I just believe that whatever you're taught in the household, if your mom, dad, you know, great grandma or whatnot, if they make gestures or make, you know, different things that, you know, treat the lighter skinned people better, or they make different they say different things about it, then you're going to pick up on that. You're going to feel that the lighter you are, the closer you are to white, it's better. There's something learned, because I honestly, I've never been taught that, you know. And when I see a lighter skinned female, I don't feel away. I'm not intimidated. Like, honestly, like I've never, you know, even just like she was saying, watching, you know, Angelina Jolie or J-Lo, I've never felt the way. They're not the same as me. I can never be them. So it's like, it's not a competition. And I feel that, you know, why can't we all just be beautiful? Like, why can't we all compliment each other at the end of the day? Like, why does it have to be like, oh, well, we need, you know, why does it have to be like, you have to pick and choose? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that part. I just feel like that a lot of it is like taught. The same thing with like Kodak Black. Like, when he said that little comment about, he was canceled. When he said about dark skinned women are aggressive and they're this and that, I was like, oh no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I actually did like Kodak, like some of his music and things like that. You know, a couple of his little songs. But at the end of the day, like when he came out, and it wasn't that he was saying that he prefers to date lighter skinned women. That's not the problem. Everybody has a preference. The problem is when you try to bash dark skinned women to uplift the light skinned women. It's like, you didn't have to say that you feel that dark skinned women are more aggressive or they're not submissive enough. Like, you put that on a whole category of women. Like, really?
I actually get bothered by even the preference. Like, I mean, and I know it sounds kind of terrible because everybody's allowed to like what they like, but to me, it's like whenever I hear, especially when I hear Black dudes like, oh, I just got my preferences, it's always the same preference across the board. It's always like this, like the same, again, high yellow, long haired, exotic looking, probably not black, probably something else.
We weren't celebrated.
I mean, it makes it like, it's almost like, it's no wonder Lil' Kim had her challenges. Like, I mean, I remember they quoted her one time as saying that she started doing all the surgery and stuff in part because she was always getting cheated on and left for like these more exotic looking women. And it's like, and now a woman with more confidence should just ship it off and be like, all right, they're jerks, I'm gonna keep it moving. But if you already don't have the strongest self-esteem and you got enough men reinforcing that, because if you already feel negative about yourself, you're gonna attract that anyway.
Exactly.
So it's just like, so it was just kind of compounding it. So I'm not saying that she shouldn't take responsibility for some of her craziness with how she's, you know, how she's doing her plastic surgery and stuff. I mean, that's her own choice, but I feel like I can see how she felt led to that, because that narrative she was hearing, I've heard that all my life, that there's a very specific type of woman that especially successful Black men want to see. And it's a level that I feel like most people can't achieve anyway. So when I hear this whole, oh, it's just my preference, it's just what I like. It's like, well, how come you don't like folk who look like you? Like, it's like, can we dig a little deeper in it? Like, what is that all about? Like, and no one wants to address it because it's almost like, oh, well, it's just preference. We're all allowed to have that. But
well, I feel like mainly like growing up, I can honestly say like mostly lighter skinned men, you know, approached me, you know, growing up in high school. Like, I've dated darker skinned people, but more so darker skinned men or got boys at the time. They wanted the light skinned girl. And for me, it was like, okay, whatever. So that they actually made my preference for me. You know what I mean? They just kind of made it. So, like, it's not that I prefer lighter skin anything. Because, you know, at the time, I'm a lesbian. So, but, you know, I'm a lesbian now. But back then, you know, it wasn't that I preferred anything. It was just like darker skin guys preferred the lighter skin girls. So I would date the lighter skin, you know, guys or whatnot. And I would say now that I'm older, everybody, like dark skin, light skin, whatever, approach me. You know, I think as I'm older now, I really don't see a difference. pretty much everybody, any type.
Same here.
Yeah.
Like when I went natural, woo,
It changes the dynamic of dude anyways, though.
you really know.
It changes the whole dynamic.
You're like, oh, can't talk to you, bye. That's your hair. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know at this point we're just showing like the shallowness of some dudes. It's just, I mean, all across the board. It's not even just color. It's obviously a lot of different other factors. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, like I've always been equal opportunity. Like I'm not limited to just black men either. I mean, of course I'm married, but you know, when I was dating, I didn't have a specification where it's like, okay, well, you have to be dark skin or light skin. I like everybody from the black diaspora.
It's
like,
you know, more like personality wise. Like,
yeah,
I like them older because I thought they would be mature.
Mhm.
Not the case.
That's a lie.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think at this point, you know, we pointed out some of the obvious things, but the question is, how do we move forward in that? Like, how can we, I guess, communicate this issue better so that we're not still moving forward 20 years from now, we're still in the same divisive mindset. Like, actually, you sent me a video of a yellow girl who was like talking, basically, it was like 3 versions of her. And she's like, I don't see the problem because no one's even thinking like that. Like, you know, an oblivious yellow girl. And then her friend having to tell her, like, okay, just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so I guess the question is, I mean, from your vantage point, what can we do, whether it's other Black people who are not dark skinned, who may not be getting it? Like, what do you think we can do to grow in the right direction as a culture?
Well, I feel, again, I feel that it starts at home. I feel like, you know, that's something that you have to teach your kids. You have to educate your kids, and also building your kids' self-esteem, you know, building their self-esteem, number one, but also not making a difference between your lighter skinned kid, your darker skinned kid. Quit calling your kids black ass and everything else. Like, you know, things like that. Like just that, you know, you don't realize what you do, but you're bashing your own kid, but you know, you're not realizing what you're doing in the long run. So I feel like the best thing is to build your child's self-esteem and also teach them that it's not a difference. Now the grown folks is already, you know, they're already set in their ways or whatnot. I feel like they're just gonna have to read. They're gonna be more educated. They're gonna have to really witness some things. That's the only thing. If you're already an adult and you've already been trained that way to you know, to feel that one is better than the other, that's just what it is for you until you read and you really find, you know, have those types of experiences and really understand, you know, what the struggle basically.
And Hannah, what do you think? Want to close this out?
Is it okay? Sorry.
You're fine.
Piggyback off of what Erica said, I do think it starts at home. And one instance was my daughter, Halloween. She wanted to be Elsa. You know, Elsa is vanilla, so she was like, "Oh, I want to be like her color." I'm like, "Oh, can't do that. You know, you black power." So I kind of want to like embrace her and tell her like, even though you want to be like her, you can't be physically 100% like her. You can be a better version of her. And I also feel like with the grown people, we could just have the door open, not just close it in their face. Don't get buck with them. They have their opinions. I feel like if we have like an open dialogue that we have here with other people, I feel like that would help moving forward. Just making it more aware and like say, okay, everybody had their opinions. Here's how we can kind of like coexist with each other instead of putting everybody in a box.
I did have a piggyback off of what she said when she said about the Elsa. Growing up, I was raised by my dad. For the most part, I lived in a house with my dad, me and my 2 sisters, and basically, my mom, she got us on the weekend, and for the life of us, we could not understand why Daddy wouldn't let us play with white baby dolls. Like that was a thing in our house. Like, and the thing was, my mom has a white husband since I was 6 years old. So we're very diverse, but at the same time, my dad was like, "No, you don't play with white baby dolls." Like we couldn't bring them to his house, even if we had white baby dolls at Mama's house, we couldn't bring them. So more recently in my adult life, I asked my dad, like, "Why did you not let us play with white baby dolls? We thought you were so horrible. You were just so racist." And he was like, "No, it has nothing to do with being racist." He said, said, when you play with a baby doll, that's the image of yourself. And he said, you could never have a white baby. He said, when you play with your baby doll, I want you to see an image of yourself. So that's why I made y'all play with black baby dolls. And it made so much sense. Like he said, you know, he said, y'all being little girls, he was like, I don't want you growing up thinking that this is better. Like having a white baby is better than having a baby that looks like you. Mm-hmm. And I totally got what he was saying, like as an adult, once he explained that to me, because we thought he was horrible. Like we thought it was horrible. We didn't understand it as a child. But it was a method to his madness, and we got it. And totally, I think more people should adopt that.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't have any children, but I have lots of nieces and nephews, and every time I get them gifts, because they're all like, you know, the majority of them are like under the age of 5, it's always going to be like black baby dolls. Storybooks that are like about black children. Like I try to make sure they see themselves in every aspect. And so what you both just said, it just makes, it seems like such a simple thing, but that's planting the seeds and having more confidence in themselves so that this is not even an issue to them.
And also celebrating black culture and celebrating us as a people is not bashing anybody else. That's what people have to understand. Oh, yeah. Like saying that you can't play with a white baby doll is not saying it's bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing.
It's embracing yourself.
It's embracing yourself and your own culture and your own skin. That's all. Being comfortable in your own skin. That's all, you know. And if more people understood that, they wouldn't look at it as a negative. You know, it'd be a positive thing. And we wouldn't have people running around like Kodak saying that the dark-skinned girls are aggressive and light-skinned girls aren't. That is crazy.
Yeah. It's just, it's horrible. And I think we should just ban him from this, ban mention his name ever again from the show.
He's banned.
Yeah, banned.
Canceled.
All right. Well, thanks so much, ladies, for being here. Erica, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you again, Miss Hannah, as per usual. Thank y'all so much for watching. You just watched Respect the Crown.
Respect the Crown.